2020, Toshiaki Endo is addressing the media. Let's listen in.
Can you tell us the safety measures that we are going to adopt it on the Tokyo 2020? How do we prevent it, the people to be get infected by COVID-19?
Playbook.
Actually, we have an operational manual, and we called it the Playbook. So I think all of you, I think all of you is going to read that Playbook. I believe every single action and movement that we are making is going to be based on that Playbook. We are actually thinking about the security and safety of every single athletes and working staffs. So you mentioned about the Prime Minister Suga's measures to tackle against the COVID-19 in the face of Tokyo 2020, and I noticed the Suga administration has committed that before the end of the February, you are going to get a conclusion of whether the Tokyo 2020 is going to be held. So if we think about that, what do you make of that? I think in the middle of this meeting, I'm sorry for that, there are some of the signals from Australian members of the IOC. They talk about the recent development. They are quite concerned about the latest development of Tokyo 2020's preparation. But actually, for the concrete content and for who is responsible for what, we are quite clear about the internal responsibility. So can you give us more introduction about the test for the athletes and also all the preparational work before the actual opening of the Tokyo 2020? Actually, we are seeing the fact is happening, and with the mounting numbers of the COVID-19 cases in Japan, how do you tackle with that part? Actually, in that Playbook, I'm not sure about the content of this Playbook. I'm sorry for that. But I believe we are going to tackle with the negative news release from Australia. And I'm also going to, I'm actually denying all the content from Australia. And I believe when the Playbook is released, you are going to have a better understanding of what is happening in the Playbook. So I'm from the Asahi News. Thank you very much for your comments. So the measures we are taking is the measures we can come up with to facing the current scenario. But moving forward, we are going to face all kinds of scenarios. For example, we are going to prepare for the Tokyo 2020, and if there is any other kind of the emergency happening in Tokyo, how do we deal with that? And to take a step further, at a state of emergency, are we going to contract with the private sector? I believe we are facing all kinds of the possibilities. So to tackle with all the difficulties, we are definitely going to construct all kinds of the contract. But before the happenings of the Olympic, we are actually trying to come up with the best solution. That is the professional work we are doing right now. Thank you.
So we were listening just now to the Vice President of the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, Mr. Toshiaki Endo, addressing the media on what Japan is doing to ensure the safety and security of athletes attending the games, as well as the preparation work before the opening of the games. Constantly referring to a playbook on all of this, but unfortunately not really giving any more details about what that playbook actually entails. So not much to new information in terms of how Japan is going to deal with the Olympics coming up on July the 23rd. Just a reminder, Japan is still under a state of emergency because of the coronavirus pandemic, and the Suga government is extending the state of emergency beyond the February 7th deadline. So, of course, we need to get the pandemic in Japan under control in order to have the safety.
This is actually a playbook. Tells us how to deal with the uncertainties at the site of the Olympic. I believe it is also going to be distributed in the electronic version, and thus all of you can read it and learn from this playbook. I think a lot of athletes is going to come from the overseas countries and other different countries. Definitely, they are going to went through a period of quarantining. So, can you introduce us more about the quarantining policy? Actually, today's meeting is actually be reported by me, and I believe that we have another meeting in April. So today is February the 2nd. Or 3rd, this is actually a meeting held in February the 2nd. And today's measures and today's playbook is coming out based on the scenario we are dealing with right now. And this is actually a joint conclusion that we got after the discussions with IOC and also the Olympic Committee in our country and also the Japanese government. I believe after April, we are going to have a clearer picture about the latest update of COVID-19. So, on that April meeting, I believe we are also going to report to you based on the scenario, based on the situation in April. We are also going to report to you what kind of measures are we going to deal with. Of course, today we are dealing with all kinds of the different scenarios. I believe the French journalist has mentioned about the safety measures that we are going to adopt it. So what is going to happen? We are not quite sure yet. But I believe every single measure is going to be confirmed by the Olympic Committee. I believe that we are also going to hold Tokyo 2020 with safety and security. I believe that is also the initial purpose from all of us. Thank you. So can you brief me about the latest update of this parliamentary meeting? But actually, we does not hold any parliamentary meeting today. And based on the different scenario, what kind of measures are the government is going to take? What kind of measures is the IOC, GOC, and also the international society is going to take to tackle with the COVID-19 related scenario? I think for this matter, we need the joint conclusion for several different stakeholders. And based on what was happening last year, I think that we got a conclusion in April last year. Of course, this year, the confirmed cases in Japan right now is quite different from what was happening last year. I believe the confirmations and conclusions could only be drawn if we are basing on the current scenario. So, but the current conclusion is based on what is happening in February, today, all the data we have today. No matter from the government side, or from the Olympic Committee side, and for the general Japanese Japanese people, how are they going to better prepare for the Olympic? This still remains to be questions. This still means questions to be answered.
はい、冒頭に聖火リレーについての説明も資料に基づいてございました。したがってやっぱり3つ。
I think in this playbook, I have also introduced you what can we do to tackle with any disasters or emergency scenario. But based on what we have yesterday, last year, we think that even in the year of 2020, across the world, we have already seen a lot of exhibitions, entertainment events happened across the world. I believe across the world, we have some of the measures to deal with such a huge events. But I believe all the Olympic activities is going to be held on the prerequisite to keep everybody in safe.
はい、そこまで詳しくはないんですけども、例えばですよ。
I'm sorry, in the playbook, we have not goes into that detailed level. For example, we have some of the celebrities, talent people, and previous Olympic winners. they are willing to come to this Tokyo 2020.
ならないように
So what genres do they belong to in this playbook? It's very difficult to put them into a category and setting up some of the requirement for them for their behavior in Tokyo and in Japan. So we have to think about this category of people.
状況で行う必要があると。
The measures to deal with COVID-19 outbreak can also be divided into two parts. If there is a very emergency scenario of COVID-19 break and if there is not, I think all of it should be considered
準備状況の
before the happening of the events.
赤いライン。この資料に
Today, I'm also giving you an introduction of this material, these background
現
documents.
状における説明ということであったということであります。
This is actually the strategy adopted by the organizing committee. And in the organizing committee, we are actually keeping up with all kinds of plans.
国際的な大会が
And
開催
from
されておりますので、
Today, from now on, in Japan, we are apart from the Tokyo 2020, we are also going to hold a series of the public sport event. I believe these measures can also be adopted by this public sport event.
はい。
This concludes today's press briefing. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.